Chapter 19. By midnight on Saturday night, oh, what a lovely war was the distant memory. And as the set of a man for all seasons sprang up around them, and the speakers played a harmonious selection from the Franciscan monk's collection, the crew and cast seemed to become quieter and more serious. Well, they did for about half an hour until Mrs. Wong's sweet and sour chips arrived and the carpenter opened the beer. Then it was all hands on deck as usual and a race to get through it all before dawn. Sally and Dora and Janine finished the washing and then went back to Janine and Peter's house for a quiet bottle of wine and a bit of gossip. So come on then, Janine, what's with Gwendolyn and Geoffrey? Asked Sally, hunkering down in a comfy chair with her glass of red and a packet of crisps. How did you find out, you wicked girl? Is it supposed to be the secret of the century? Janine looked at Sally, surprised, face and groaned. Oh God, you don't really know, do you? You guessed and I fell for it. I am such a klutz. Please don't say anything to anybody, as I could get the sack. Gwendolyn has sworn me to secrecy. Sally, please. Oh, blimey, Janine. Stop panicking. Of course we won't say anything, Dora interrupted. Calm down and enjoy your drink. Listen. It is just interesting though, isn't it, those two? I thought Geoffrey was happily married. Oh, so you said, Sally. Well, I thought he was, wasn't he, Janine? Sally and Dora turned and waited for their friend to fill in the gaps. Yes, he was, certainly. Last season things seemed fine, but Gwendolyn has been hanging around on the edge of his marriage for quite a while. I'm beginning to suspect. She tells me that she and Geoffrey were an item at college years ago, and then when he went off to be an actor, they lost touch for a couple of years. She had no idea he had even become an actor. She thought he had gone to teach drama at some school up north. Anyway, they bumped into each other at a school reunion, and it was as if they had never parted, except he announced that he had a wife and 3 small children, those daughters who are the apple of his eye. Gwendolyn is completely obsessed with Geoffrey, and decided to get him into the cast last year so she could work on him. Her words. By the way, I have no idea what went on last year, but this year so far, there is no sign of the wife and kids, and Gwendolyn is on a mission. Believe me, it is embarrassing for me because they are always touching each other up and disappeared into the laundry room, and I dread going to his dressing room in case I catch them at all. Janine stopped and looked at the other 2 girls who were helpless with laughter. What is so funny, may I ask? Is it not funny if you are involved, even if you don't want to be? Stop laughing, she ordered. Sorry, Janine, really, but I have got this mental image of tight ass Gwendolyn whipping off her glasses and her Alice band and grabbing Geoffrey in his Perrault costume and breathing into his ear, "Take me, Geoffrey, darling," and Geoffrey peering at her and saying those immortal words, "God, but you're beautiful behind your glasses. Come to me, Gwendolyn." This resulted in more squeals of laughter from Dora and Sally, while poor Janine looked on aghast. "Please stop it, guys. What am I going to do?" she pleaded. The 2 sisters finally calmed down and tried to offer helpful suggestions. "Just try and stay out of their way," advised Sally. "I was only talking about this the other day to Dora, explaining that it's fatal to get involved with all the going-ons. Why can't we all just muddle along like the boys do? Go to the pub, have a few drinks, and don't ask any questions. Classic male behaviour. Sorry, didn't mean to be quite so sexist." "Do we think Charmaine is gay?" asked Dora, completely changing the subject. "Gay? No, why do you ask that?" said Janine, pouring more wine for them all. "I don't know really," replied Dora. "It's just a feeling I have, and she came on to me yesterday." Sally looked quite shocked. "Came on to you? How? And anyway, how would you know what's coming on from a woman like what? Know what coming on from a woman was like, Dora?" "Oh, please, Sally, give me a break. I'm not a child. We had great relationships at school, didn't you?" retorted Dora. There was silence while Sally took this all in. No, actually, I wasn't aware of anything like that at school. I just never noticed, I suppose." Dora sighed and said to Janine, "This is so typical of my sister. She lives in a little world of her own. I think that's why she and Jeremy get on so well. They just never notice anything, except maybe their acting role." Sally felt rather foolish. "Maybe Charmaine just likes to keep things close to her chest," she suggested, "as does Sarah. What do we think about Miss Kelly then?" To her relief, this brought all manner of speculation on the other 2 girls. "She is quite hard, I think," said Janine, "and she uses people, and I have noticed she is all about Percy Pig, helping him with his lines, mind you. I'm not sure Percy can pull any strings for her." "Except," said Sally, Giles does listen to him quite a lot about casting, and they have worked together for many years. If Sarah can get to Giles through piracy and land herself a good juicy role this season, she can get agents to come and see her. God, listen to us. The poor girl is probably just lonely and shy, and it is easier to make friends with Percy and Peggy than us lot of witches. Actually, I think you were right the first time, Sally. You have always been a good judge of character, and having come into all this after you and Janine, I think I can say I have noticed things as a bystander. Sarah is not going to be trusted, and I suspect she is after taking parts away from you, Sal. She is always sidling up to Robin and asking about characters. She has learned all the songs from Lysistrata, and I wouldn't be surprised if she angled for the part you are lined up for and to understudy the lead. Just keep an eye on her, sister dear. Well, you're a dark horse, Dora, commented Janine, gathering up their glasses. Did you know you has such an observant sibling with such a cynical heart, Sally? I think you should go home and sleep on those things, girls. But please, can I remind you that those dark thoughts are a secret between us? Sally got her coat and bag, and Dora said to Janine, "Thank you for the wine. I'm really sleepy now, and my little bed is calling. Come on, Sally. It is Sunday tomorrow. How cool is that? A lie-in." As they walked home, arm in arm, the sisters did not speak, each deep in their own thought. The next morning, Sally woke to grey, blustery November day, and decided that it was a perfect Sunday to stay in and watch telly and eat toast. Dora, however, had other ideas, and came bouncing into the kitchen humming a song from Lysistrata. "Can we go through some songs for my audition today?" she asked for a mouthful of cereal. "I thought I could sing the main one that old Charmaine sings together, all you ladies together. It is quite funky, and I know I could sing it well." She proceeded to demonstrate her point. "Oh, please, Dora, not just yet. Let me wake up first," shouted Sally, pulling her hands over her ears. "Sorry," said Dora, looking rather forlorn. "Just want to get on with it." Sally looked at her sister across the table for a good few minutes, wondering where this sudden desire to act had come from. Dora had never shown any interest in acting while Sally was at college, and certainly did not pursue it through school plays or anything as Sally had done. "Why now? I hope you don't mind me asking, Dora, but why all this sudden wish to be an actress? I thought you had come up here to crew to help with the wardrobe department and learn a bit about design. Now all of a sudden you want to perform." Dora didn't reply immediately. She finished her cereal in silence, then got up and rinsed the bowl in the sink and left it on the draining board. Wiping her hands on the tea towel, she turned around and leaned against the sink. "To be honest, I really don't know, but watching you all these last 2 weeks has awoken something in me, sis. I just feel so alive and I want to join in. Listen, I may be hopeless and it will all come to nothing, but I need to have a go at least. Do you mind?" she asked Sally, holding her gaze. "Why would I mind?" her sister answered a little too quickly. "You can do what you like, but don't expect too much, will you? I mean, Giles is no pushover, and he has his cast already." "Oh, I know that, of course, but there is this opportunity in Lysistrata, isn't there? Why not go for it?" Dora's eyes were bright with excitement. "Can you just run through the song a couple of times, please?" Sally laughed. "Come on then, let's get it out of the way. Then I can relax for the rest of the afternoon." The girls worked on the song, and Sally had to admit that her sister was pretty impressive. It was strange to be in this situation, and she felt a niggle of uncertainty. After the conversation last night about the other actress and ambitions, Sally wondered if she was taking things too much for granted. She just assumed she had her place in the company. Giles had promised her some decent roles, and he seemed pleased with her work so far. But maybe she should be more pushy. She decided to talk to Jeremy and find out what he knew about future casting from Robert. The sisters spent the rest of the day lying on the sofa and listening to the wind and the rain lashing against the windows. They had ham sandwiches for tea and were in bed by 9, fast asleep by 5 past. Chapter 20. The opening night of A Man for All Season was a great success. To give him his due, Percy Hackett had turned in a more than adequate Thomas More. Sally watched from the wings for most of the performance, as she did not have too many props to deal with, and Heather had wanted her to learn the book and be able to prompt and give cues to the actors and crew. It was a scary job initially, as everyone relies on the prompt corner, and basically the buck stops there. However, Sally soon managed to deal with 6 different things at once and actually enjoyed the power she had in hands during a show. Tonight had gone without a hitch, and Sally was smiling as the cast took their bows. There she had there had been great excitement at the opening of the play, as Lord Graham had arrived with his son and daughter. They took their places in the royal box just as the lights were going down. Giles was faffing around in the interval of organising champagne for the guests. Lord Graham is a very dear friend, she explained to Sally. He does so much for this theatre, and I don't know what we would do without him. After the play, the cast was invited to meet his lordship in the bar. Is there a free pint in it? Asked Simon as they came off stage. Absolutely, said Sally, who was in charge of passing on the invitation. Glad to see you have got your priorities right as usual, Simon. She grabbed Jeremy by the arm as he was leaving and asked, Are you going up to the bar? Wouldn't miss it for the world, my dear. Nothing like a bit of landed gentry, is there? He winked at her. I'll see you in the bar. Jeremy was feeling terrific. He had nailed the role and knew he had given a good performance. As he was changing, Robert had come in and slapped him on the back, saying, Congratulations, you managed to make that character watchable for a change. He is written as such a prig, but you made him human. Even gave him some charisma, dare I say it. Jeremy glowed with pride. This was what he wanted. This was what he lived for. He was going to show the world what a great actor he could be. He arrived in the bar feeling fantastic and in control of his destiny. And then he saw the boy, and everything fell away. There was only silence, and the space between him and the young man standing at the bar smiling at him. Hi, I loved your performance. Can I get you a drink? The young man shook Jeremy's hand and then placed an arm round his shoulders and steered him towards the drinks. It seemed the most natural gesture in the world, just yet so intimate that Jeremy could hardly get his breath. I'm Eddie Graham, by the way, son of the Lord. The boy made a face and laughed. It is always embarrassing at first. Hopefully you won't hold it against me. Here, have a glass of champagne. You look done in. Jeremy took the glass and desperately tried to pull himself together. What was the matter with him? He was trembling. Thanks so much, he said, taking the glass and throwing the contents back in one gulp. Yes, I'm sorry to be so slow, but it has been a long day. Could you pass me another drink, do you think? Jeremy handed Eddie the empty glass and waited for the replacement. He couldn't move from the spot. Eddie laughed and his whole face lit up. It was such an open, beautiful face, thought Jeremy, losing himself once again in the moment, only to come back down to earth with a bump, as he felt a hand on his arm moving away from the bar, and there was Giles beaming down at him. Well done, Jeremy, and fantastic performance. You've met Eddie. Good, lovely. Well, let me introduce you to his father, Lord Graham. Giles spun Jeremy round to face a tall, handsome man who rather spookingly resembled an older version of Eddie. Well, he would, wouldn't he? Pull yourself together, Jeremy, for God's sake. How do you do, sir? He managed to mumble and shook his proffered hand. Pleased to meet you, my boy. Thoroughly enjoyed the evening. This is my daughter Tilly, by the way. His lordship stepped aside to reveal a striking pretty girl with the same open face as her brother and mountains of golden hair. Hi, she said. Congratulations on the play. It was fab. Jeremy was now completely at a loss as to where to go with any of this. The bar was so crowded and the noise level had reached epic proportions, and he felt a bit dizzy. Do you mind if I just sit down for a moment? He asked. No one in particular, and Eddie jumped to his attention. Of course, sorry, there is a chair, I'll get it. And he had gone off before Jeremy could stop him. Jeremy turned to the girls and tried to explain. You must think me very odd just standing there, but the thing is, it is always rather overwhelming coming up to all these people and just after finishing a show. It is like coming out of one world and into another. Oh, please don't apologize. I think it's great you even bothered to come. I'm not sure I would. Tilly smiled at him and he basked in the glow. Eddie was suddenly at his side, saying, Here you go, please sit and relax. We rather bombarded you, didn't we? Sorry, but it is so exciting being here and seeing all the actors and everything. The two siblings spent the next few minutes chatting and generally being very pleasant. Jeremy still couldn't quite bring himself up to speed and was desperate for some help to get him out of his coma. There you are. I have been looking everywhere for you. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. It was Sally. She stopped and acknowledged the two guests. Jeremy finally found his tongue. Sally, this is Eddie and Tilly Graham. They have been to see the show tonight with their father, Lord Graham. But don't let that put you off, laughed Eddie. We are quite nice, really, aren't we, Tilly? Sally smiled and shook their hands. How lovely to meet you. I'm sorry I barged in. But when my best friend goes missing, I'm always a bit concerned. He is not safe out on his own. They all laughed and Jeremy started to relax for the first time in the evening. Thank goodness Sally was here to rescue him. But rescue him from what exactly? The bar was finally emptying out as the audience left. As usual, the cast and crew had their eyes on the pub, and most of them had already left. Giles and Lord Graham were deep in conversation at the other end of the bar, so Jeremy ventured to invite their new friends for a drink with them. That would be terrific, but I think Dad is on a bit of a mission to get back tonight, as he has to be in London tomorrow, replied Eddie. But it would be great if we could meet up sometime. I would love to see you backstage, but I don't want to be a nuisance. No, no, of course you wouldn't be a nuisance. We work every day until about 5, so if you want to return up, then we could show you around. It would be a pleasure, said Jeremy, turning to Sally for confirmation. Oh, yes, absolutely, she agreed. Listen, I hate to be a party pooper, but we need to get going, Jeremy. Oh, yes, please don't let us keep you. It has been a pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to my guided tour. This little speech from Eddie was directed solely at Jeremy, and it was picked up by Sally, who made a mental note to ask Jeremy all about it later. In the meantime, she grabbed his arm and joked, Don't you know that a clean exit is always best? Stop dithering and say goodbye. Goodbye, Jeremy said obediently, watching the two beautiful young things across the bar towards their father. He felt the butterflies in his stomach again and turned guiltily to see if Sally was watching them. Fortunately, she had her head down and was concentrating on dragging him across the floor. He swallowed hard and tried to pull himself together. He needed to be alone to examine what had happened to him tonight. One thing he knew for sure, it had nothing to do with acting or his performance. Act 3, Exit Stage Left. Chapter 21. The boy I love is up in the gallery. The boy I love's looking now at me. There he is, can't you see? Waving his handkerchief, as merry as a robin that sings on a tree. Jeremy arrived at the stage door the next day to be greeted by a very excited Gladys, who handed him an envelope. The woman was desperately hoping he would open it there and then, and put her out of her misery. Needless to say, she had examined the envelope extensively, but it had given her no clues except that it was expensive stationery. She watched Jeremy disappear upstairs with a frustrated sigh. Oh well, you couldn't win 'em all. Once in the dressing room, which mercifully he had to himself, Jeremy tore open the missive. The card was also expensive and matched the envelope. The handwriting was smooth and flowing. Dear Jeremy, it was so wonderful to meet you last night and be a small part of your celebration. I was so disappointed that we had to leave. You very kindly suggested you might meet with me one day soon and show me around the theatre. I just want to make sure that you understand how much I appreciate your offer. Here is my telephone number, and you can leave a message if I'm not around. I'm working on my father's estate at the moment, so I'm out most of the day, but you will always find me in after 5. I do hope you will call. Kind regards, Eddie Graham. Jeremy could feel his heart pounding and realized that he was holding his breath. He let it go with a big sigh, wondering what this was all about. Did Eddie feel the same way? Or was this just a polite note showing a mild interest in the theatre? Surely it was more than that. Deep down inside him, a little voice was telling him that there had been a connection last night. He was not imagining it. What should he do now? He put the card back in the envelope and pushed it down inside his bag. He would go and ask Sally. He found his friend folding clean washing in the wardrobe department with Dora and Gwendolyn and Janine. Now was obviously not a good time to discuss his life. Hi, Jeremy, said Dora gaily. You're looking a bit stressed. Sally crossed to Jeremy and took his arm. Is something wrong? She whispered. Come outside. She pushed him through the door into the corridor. I have found a card from Eddie, replied Jeremy. He wants a guided tour of the theatre. Well, that's great. Say yes, you numpty, and get him here, and then you can see how the land lies. Sally gave him a hug and said, I have to work. Let's talk about it later. Jeremy went to the dressing room and reread the note, then lay on folded arms at his dressing table, trying to control the swirling thoughts going around in his head. Finally, he fell asleep and was woken an hour later by the lads arriving for the evening show. Sally, meanwhile, had finished the laundry and had gone off to set the stage and check props. Dora called after her, Hey, wait for me, sis. I need a favour. Giles had asked to see me tomorrow during the lunch hour to audition for the chorus. So will you just listen to my song a couple of times? Sure, replied Sally, making her way into the stage. Why don't you sing for me now on stage while no one is around? Dora stopped in her tracks and looked around. Okay then, if you think it is all right. Yes, go on, go for it. I will whip up to the box. Just give me a minute. And she disappeared out of sight. Left on her own in the middle of the stage, Dora was suddenly very aware of the whole theatre. The auditorium in front of her, with the rows of red velvet seats, created a crimson sea. Calm now, but which would soon be rippled with life. She gazed upward to the balcony of distant land and let out a small sound, aiming for the back of the theatre. Her tiny note floated away and was lost in the crimson velvet tier above her. "You will have to do better than that," came Sally's voice from the semi-darkness. She sounded so close, but when Dora looked up, she could see her sister away in the box. It was deceptive. "Sorry, I was just suddenly overwhelmed by the whole building." "It really is so beautiful, isn't it?" murmured Dora as she moved to the front of the stage and peered over the edge into the pit. "Come on, Dora, stop messing about. Give me a blast," ordered her sister, and her voice chased the shadows round the theatre. Dora cleared her throat and launched into a gusty rendition of the opening number from the new musical Lysistrata. Her voice was strong and clear, and she really gave the high notes a blasting. It was very rousing and just right emotionally for the scene, in Sally's opinion. She was just about to say as much when she stopped in her tracks by the sound of clapping. The hands were very slowly coming together, and each clap reverberated around the auditorium. "Encore, bravo! You are high, my girl." "Is she not, Timothy?" The two sisters were ready to gouge where the voice was coming from. Sally left the box and came down to join Dora on the stage, by which time Giles and Timothy Townstead, the musical director, was leaning on the edge of the pit in the stalls looking at them. "Are you serious?" asked Dora, unable to keep the excitement out of her voice. "Absolutely, my dear," replied Giles. "We have two talented sisters in our midst. Marvellous, Sally. I have been looking for you because I want to talk to Timothy here about taking a solo number in the next show. At the moment it belongs to the leading character, but Tim and I agree you have a wonderful soprano voice and would be ashamed not to use it. So if you're game, we can give you the song now so you can have time to get it under your belt for the rehearsal tomorrow. As for you, Dora, that is your name, I believe." Dora nodded her head so hard Sally thought it would drop off. "Well, if you could come with us now," Giles continued, "we will take you through the role, and Timothy can check out your range, etc. See you in the rehearsal room in 5. The two girls were left standing staring into an empty theatre, and silence prevailed for a few seconds. Then, "Oh my God," screamed Dora. "I'm going to be in the show. I'm going to be an actress. Oh my God." She grabbed her sister and proceeded to waltz around the stage. "Well done," said Sally, trying to catch her breath and at the same time work out what exactly had just happened and where she herself fit into all this. "A solo in the next show. That was great. But how could Charmaine feel about losing a number to Dora of all people? What would she have to say about that?" "Hang on. Can we stop, please? I need to think." Sally escaped from Dora's arm and went across to the prompt corner to find a script of Lysistra. "I just want to check how all this fits together," she explained to Dora. "Does it matter?" the other girls asked. "All we need to do is wait to be given our new roles, and away we go. I can't believe I'm going to be in Lysistrata. Come on, let's go and tell everyone." "No, hang on, Dora. That is not a good idea. People are not sensitive about their roles, and it is not your place to announce cast changes. Leave it to Giles to tell everyone tomorrow morning. Please trust me on this." Sally took hold of Dora's arm and looked her straight in the eye. "Do you understand? You do not want to start at the beginning of the rehearsals on the wrong foot. Believe me. Promise me you will not say a word." Dora made a stiff movement across her mouth with her fingers. "Mum's the word, sis." Thanks for listening.